Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
Welcome to Waiting with Love. As always, this is a fellowship style space for people navigating the messy in between that comes with waiting. Whether you're waiting for a child, as we are, waiting for something else, we want you to know that you don't have to wait without hope, and you certainly don't have to wait alone. This is especially true when that waiting has lasted longer, hurt more, and changed you more than you ever expected. Before we jump into the main episodes of this podcast, we wanted to start with an episode 0, a chance to explain why we're doing this and who this space is really for. If you've ever felt stuck in the middle, waiting for something you desperately want, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Before we get started, let's just clear the air about we're new to this and totally out of our comfort zone. This is our first podcast ever.
Yep.
I've listened to a bunch, but I've never actually done one before. We've done a blog for other things. We'll talk more about that probably in future episodes, but podcasting is new to us, so bear with us as we kind of work out the kinks. But we're going to give it our best shot. We're talking about pretty, I don't want to say uncomfortable topics, but definitely emotional topics. So we're kind of balancing emotional topics with a new space. So bear with us for the first few episodes.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We've been waiting to build a family for almost 10 years. And that's 10 years of hoping and of planning and of waiting and of recalibrating our expectations.
Yeah, and I don't even think 10 years tells the whole story because we started talking about kids since we met, really. So now let's start off with that not wanting kids. But that's a different topic for a different day. But we've been talking about this probably for 13 years, and we've been trying for 10 years, and we've been through the process many different times. We, for the adoption, for example, we've had 4 different birth mothers, I believe. That was open adoption, closed adoption. When none of that worked, we tried surrogacy twice. And still we have not been successful, yet we are still in the journey.
And I think that's what this is really about, and what we're trying to do with Waiting with Love is to let people know that you don't have to go through this journey alone. We've carried a lot of the weight of this journey alone and in silence. And
I think silence, I don't know about you all, but with us, silence we believed was protection.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it was actually the opposite. By being silent about it, it was quietly, I don't want to be dramatic, but quietly killing us. And we'll talk more about that probably in future episodes too. But it really was physically, emotionally, mentally, certainly hurting us. Maybe killing is a bit dramatic. Hurting us a lot. The silence of the grief, the waiting, I think the hardest part is trying to control something we can't control. None of us can control. And also, it's a quiet space. No matter how any of you have tried to have or grow your family, whether it's naturally the old-fashioned way, I hate to say it, the old-fashioned way, the birds and the bees, or something like us, or something completely different, it's hard. And, on social media, you just see the success stories.
Yeah, you do. And I think that a lot of those success stories and seeing other people go through this journey, sort of whether it's the old-fashioned way or through a process like IVF, adoption, surrogacy, and things not turn out as you wanted them to, but maybe when you wanted them to, as is the case with us, it can be hard when all you're seeing on social media is the highlights reel. And I think that part of what we want to do here is to create a space that we've been holding, as Andrew said, silently, for people who are going through this journey and where it's taking longer than they expected, or it's taking turns that maybe they didn't expect. In episode 1, we're going to talk about one of those turns that turned our desire to have a family into a family in a very unexpected way, not with a baby.
I think that's an important point, and I think that's one of the lessons we're going to learn. Now, we're going to talk about plenty of how awful waiting is, but there's been a lot of hope and happiness over the last few years, and I think we finally got into a healthier place mentally to truly recognize that, which, again, do we wish we had a baby or grew our family 9 years ago? Of course. Would we trade, and we'll talk more about this, the last 2 years of our lives for it? No. And that's kind
Yeah.
of the grace we've learned over time.
Yeah, exactly. And when we started, as Andrew mentioned, we went through the adoption process 4 separate times. We had 4 failed adoptions. I know that language will resonate with anybody who's been through the process. And this is not meant to be, you know, sob story. We don't have a sob story. We're still having hope. That's the point of calling it Waiting with Love. But throughout those 4 adoptions, at a certain point, we did stop. Not because we didn't want a family anymore, but because we just couldn't continue carrying the emotional weight and the emotional
Yeah,
baggage.
I don't know, Matt. I think for me, it's like every failure, every day that this took longer, whether it's surrogacy or adoption. I think what made it really hard for us was again seeing the success stories all on social media, which again we're so happy for our friends and family who were able to grow their families, of course, but we're watching what we want and we didn't get that. And we found too, I don't know if everyone listening kind of feels the same way. There's just not much of a public support system for people like us, right? You see the success stories, you see the people, and again, this is awful, this is sad, and I hope they found grace and happiness in something else. You see the people who stop. What you don't see, at least what we haven't seen, is that middle ground of the people who are still in the process. Again, trying to find outlets to survive and even thrive, dare I say, because we have thrived. We've learned to thrive. Friends and family who know we're going through this mean well.
Yeah.
They mean well. They ask questions. They try to say the right thing, but
Yeah.
they don't understand.
And I think that's what this is really about. Is it's about that messy middle. I mean, we certainly welcome all listeners, any listeners, but this isn't about the people who have gone through this process and come out the other side necessarily, at least not yet. And it's really meant for people that have stuck with it and are in the middle and are looking for somewhere to go for shared experience, not for advice, not for recommendations, not for referrals, certainly not for questions, but for people who are just looking for that shared experience that can only come through living through this. And I think that when you've waited for something this meaningful, like building a family, there's this assumption that there's a clear beginning and there's a clear end. And I think for us, there's a clear beginning. It was 10 years ago, but there isn't a clear end, even as we sit here today.
Yeah. And Matt brought up a good point, like about referrals and advice. Let's quickly clarify what we're not. We are definitely not doctors. We are definitely not therapists. There's a lot of mental and physical challenges that some of you might be experiencing while waiting. And while we want this to be a fellowship and a space for all of us to feel connected and we're all in kind of the same team, kind of experiencing this together, we highly suggest, and we've done it ourselves plenty, if you need it, to seek professional advice and support. So nothing to be ashamed of. I still have my therapist, so we're going to talk about some of our addiction. I was Freudian slip, some of our issues like addiction and things like that we've, as I said, we've come on top of and thrived, but it took a lot of work to get there. So again, this is more a fellowship, a place for all of us to belong, to be together with shared experiences. I assume a lot of what we're going to talk about, if you're in the same boat, will resonate. But please, yes, the help is there for the professionals if you need it.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And I think that, we're constantly facing the question of, is it too late? Have we missed the boat here? And I think that we're here to provide hope and to provide a space to say it's not too late. And, in one of our upcoming episodes, we're going to talk a little bit about the comparison of a waiting room, and we're all in this waiting room together.
And while you're in that waiting room, and again, we're going to keep hitting this hard because it's important. It's something we've just discovered, again, probably over the last 2 years out of the 10. So it took some time for us. Life continues. There's still lots of joy to enjoy. And it's hard because you don't want to stop thinking about your desire to have a family and grow your family. But if you focus too much on that, you're going to miss some of the awesomeness it's in front of you right now. And again, we've been fortunate over the last 2 years. While we're still waiting, we're going through all the feelings. Trust us, we are. And we'll talk more about it soon. we've had some of our, not some, we've had our best moments as a couple the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think along with that waiting, what we're really trying to do is create a space where hope and grief can coexist. And I think that's a difficult spot for people to be in, because the waiting and the need to grieve the life that you've imagined and the things that maybe you thought would have happened by this point in your life that haven't is a gap that, as we were looking for resources to help us through this journey ourselves, we just came up short every time we tried. And, we kind of joked like this was an idea from Andrew's conversation with ChatGPT that said, this space doesn't exist and it's needed. And so that's really what we're here to do.
So, over the next many episodes, we're going to talk about all sorts of things. We're going to talk about adoption, surrogacy, things we've used to cope, things that are tough to talk about, things that are happy to talk about. We're going to go through it all. In the meantime, while we're waiting for more episodes to come out, and they'll start coming out quicker, as we said, we're still kind of figuring out this podcast and things, so bear with us. There is our website. We highly encourage you all to visit it, engage with us, email us. As this podcast starts really pumping out episodes, if there are topics that are relevant that we're not hitting that you think we should hit, please let us know. We love feedback.
Yeah, we would love feedback. We would love to hear your responses, your stories, to help you to know that, you're not alone. And this is not a place that, as we said at the beginning, we're not going to provide recommendations. We're not doctors. We're not therapists. We've just walked this journey before. And sometimes what you need is not a set of questions or somebody to, in passing, say, I'm really sorry to hear that, things didn't turn out the way that you have. I think it's a place where you can hope, but also feel seen and grieve at the same time. And as Andrew said, follow along. We'll be releasing more episodes shortly. All of this information about the community and the fellowship that we're trying to build can be found on our website, which is www.waitingwithlove.com. And we'll make sure to include the links to all of our socials in the show notes.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. Until next time, keep waiting with love, and we'll be here with you. Thank you.